I'll explain. So organic chemistry has got to do with molecules that originally came from organic things like living organisms, plants, animals, things like that. Okay? So organic chemistry is carbon based chemistry. So carbon is the main type of element in organic molecules. And the second one is hydrogen. So the properties of carbon is that carbon can form 4 equally strong covalent bonds. Okay? Carbon forms 4 bonds. If I take a molecule with 1 carbon atom in it, then and 4 hydrogens to it, this molecule is my smallest organic molecule, and it's called methane. Methane is the smallest organic molecule. Are you with me? The met tells you that there's 1 carbon. Now carbon has the divine property of being able to bond to itself another carbon atom, a similar carbon atom. Okay? Now each carbon must form 4 equally strong four covalent bonds. So if I go to my second smallest organic compound, it's got 2 carbon atoms in the chain, and it's got 6 hydrogens to it. Okay, so this is ethane. And the et means 2 carbon atoms. 1 carbon atom means it's indicated by meth, and 2 carbon atoms is indicated by the et. Are you alright with that? Okay. This is called a structural formula. So these 2 things are called structural. And the molecular formula would be this. Come in, CH4, and this one's C2H6. Hello, Josh. Okay. Are you happy?
Sorry, ma'am, sorry. You said methane is the smallest
organic molecule. It's also called natural gas. Okay. I'm recording it so you can watch what you've missed. We worked through question 8 of the homework, and then we went on here. All right. Okay, so look it up. What is the definition of a homologous series?
It is a family of carbon compounds all having the same formula.
Okay. I'm getting there. I'm working towards it. Okay. Can I move to the next slide? So this molecule called ethane has a single covalent bond between the carbon atoms. Just while I'm waiting for you to finish writing, is carbon dioxide an organic compound? No, because the carbon has no hydrogens joined to it. Okay? To classify as an organic compound must be an hydrocarbonate or an hydrocarbon atom. There must be hydrogen joined to the carbons as well. Now flip side. It's fine. You see the first one is CH4. The second one is C2H6. What if we look at the next? They are called hydrocarbons. Sorry, it should be one word with a small letter C. It's just me with my plain. Hydrocarbons because they've got CH bonds. Ne? Okay. The next one is the one with 3 carbon atoms in the chain. Now, carbon has the amazing property of forming long chains of carbon atoms. This makes it a very special division of chemistry, the organic chemistry. So each carbon must have 4 covalent bonds to it. So how many hydrogens would there be in the molecule if you add another carbon to the carbon chain? So the molecular formula is C3H8. So every time you add a carbon to the chain, you add 2 hydrogens to the chain.
So like what I'm looking at, like the structure is going to be so like all the C's have to be surrounded by like hydrogen.
Yes. The C's will be joint, C, but the hydrogens must make up the 4th bond. Okay? So how can I write a general formula? Now in mathematics, if you've got something unknown, you can make it an n or an x or a y. We chose Cn. N is the number of carbon atoms. How will you get the number of hydrogen atoms? There it was 1, there it's 2, there it's 3. How can you change a 3 to an 8 or a 2 to a 6 or a 1 to a 4? Plus 4? Not n plus 4.
N plus 3.
Because there it's 5.
N plus 2.
There it's 4. You go. 2n plus 2. So this is the general formula. If there are only single bonds between the carbon atoms, they are called alkanes. Meet the first homologous group or family in organic chemistry. We haven't discussed that yet. So this one is propane. And the prop refers to 3 carbon atoms.
So the CH4, C2H6, are they all hydrocarbons?
They are all hydrocarbons, but they are hydrocarbons that has this general formula. If they've got this general formula, they are called alkanes. And alkanes is the name of an homologous series.
So ma'am, a hydrocarbon is the molecule which has the hydrogen.
Carbon and hydrogen in them.
All of them. Like all of them like this.
Carbon and hydrogen in them.
Only.
No, I'm not saying only. The majority. Okay.
So ma'am.
Yes?
So it is alkane.
Because it's got only single bonds between the carbon atoms. And the formula is CnH2n plus 2.
Oh, so there's no double bonds between the hydrogen.
No double bonds.
Okay.
Only single bonds between carbon atoms. So it's called a saturated hydrocarbons.
Why is called saturated hydrocarbon?
Because they have only single bonds between the carbon atoms, and each carbon atom has 4 bonds. So you can't add more atoms to the molecule.
Isn't it alkanes?
Yes, alkanes are saturated hydrocarbons because each carbon atom has 4 atoms bonded to it. You can't add more atoms to that molecule.
They only have a single bond between the CH.
No, that is not what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying one.
I'm saying hydrocarbons are molecules with hydrogen and carbon in the molecule. I'm saying that alkanes are hydrocarbons because they've got only carbons and hydrogens in the molecule, but they're a special type of hydrocarbon. They're a saturated hydrocarbons.
Okay. So
Because each carbon atom has 4 atoms joined to it. Every bond is a bond to another atom. Like this first carbon atom there, this first carbon atom here has a bond to that carbon atom, 1 bond, a second bond to this hydrogen atom here, a third bond to that hydrogen atom, and a fourth bond to that atom. So that first carbon has 4 individual atoms joined to it. You can't add more atoms to that carbon. And this second carbon has 4 bonds to it. It's got this first one, that one, the third one, and that hydrogen. So it's 4 different atoms joined to the carbon. Can't add more atoms to the carbon chain, so it's a saturated hydrocarbon.
Oh, so you're only referring to the only single bond within that example here.
I can go to the previous example. The ethane is saturated because it's got a single bond between the carbon atoms, and each carbon has 3 other hydrogens to it, so it's a saturated hydrocarbon as well. And the methane is also saturated. You can't add more than 4 bonds to a carbon. If there are 4 atoms joined to the carbon atom, then it's a saturated hydrocarbon. Alright? You must go to your textbook and your exam guidelines. Don't let it be a stressful situation. Just get into the theory behind it. Don't wait. Don't wait. Rather sleep a little less now. Okay? Can I go to the next one? Oh, I want to show you something else. Let me show you something else. What is a nice color to use? This pink.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to use this pink. This is the structural formula, right? I can shorten it a bit. I can say C, oh, color not coming out nicely. Let's change this color. Brown. I can write CH3, CH3 to represent that molecule. I can write CH3, CH3. This is called the condensed structural formula.
Why?
Because you don't have to draw all these lines and it takes up less space. So you're taking this first carbon and you're telling me there are 3 hydrogens joined to it. That first carbon is joined to the second carbon, and the second carbon has 3 hydrogens joined to it. Yes. So let's go to the condensed structural formula for propane. The first carbon has 3 hydrogens joined to it. The second carbon has 2 hydrogens joined to it. And the third carbon has 3 hydrogens joined to it. So this is the condensed structural formula. Can we do one more?
Wait, so that's also the condensed molecule. So it means it only has a single bond between carbon.
I mean it's only single bonds between carbon atoms, and no more atoms can be added because each carbon has 4 atoms joined to it.
So,
Yes,
so it's
single bond.
So it's unsaturated if there's like a double carbon.
A double bond. Yes, we'll get there. I think it's enough what I'm doing now. Can we do more? One more. Can I do one more? Okay. So we're on the saturated hydrocarbons, only single bonds between carbons. They are called alkanes. That's the name of the homologous series. We've got molecular formula, we've got structural formula, And we've got condensed structural formula. All these new words that you need to get to know. Okay? So the next one's got 4 carbon atoms. If it's got 4 carbon atoms, it's butane. The but tells me 4 carbon atoms. Okay, so what would it look like? 1 carbon joined to another carbon, joined to a third carbon, joined to a 4th carbon. Okay, saturated, only single bonds between the carbon atoms. Now we need to add our hydrogens to C to each carbon atom having 4 bonds. What's the molecular formula? C4H10. What is the condensed structural formula? And I'll show you now that you can even shorten that. Okay. Now you've got to have the end carbon with its 3 atoms of hydrogen and the beginning carbon with its 3. But those that are repeated in between, I can shorten it. I can write CH3 in brackets CH2. How many of them are there? 2 CH3. See, Sangi, the longer the chain becomes, the more condensed the condensed structural formula can be. So it is a shorter way of writing it. No? Yes. The longer the chain. Can we do one more? After 4 comes 5. Okay? So if we go for 5, it's called pentane. So this is a saturated hydrocarbon with 5 carbon atoms, C5, H, 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12. So this is the molecular formula, this is the structural formula, and the condensed structural formula. If I really want to shorten it a lot, then it's CH3, CH2, and there are 3 of them, CH3 again. You will most probably find both these ways, CH3, CH2, 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 CH3 in exam papers. Yes?
What is the
Pent, pent means 5. Is it making sense? And it's a saturated hydrocarbon. Single bonds between carbon atoms. Each carbon atom is joined to 4 other atoms. You can't add more atoms to the molecule. Yes, we'll get there. Don't worry about it.
Put the CH2 in brackets and then take it to the number. Can't you do that for the CH3 as well? Like say CH3.
No, because this, you see, I'm slowly introducing this to you. A CH3 in brackets means something else. And that's why I said, don't try and shorten the end carbon atoms with the hydrogens. CH3, CH3, start of the molecule, end of the molecule. You can't shorten that. Alright. Is this the end of the lesson? 1 o'clock. Good.